And I think a lot of people refer to it as like hyperfixation. You get fixated on something. And I kind of use that to my advantage. Like, I just got to get into that fixation mode. But for me to be able to do that, I need to remove as many distractions. So, like, for me this morning, I need to get those dishes removed because I knew I wanted to sit on the island in the kitchen to work. But I knew if I saw those dishes, I was not going to be able to focus on the other tasks that I needed to do.
This is the CreativeKrunch podcast.
Yesterday's left turn might be tomorrow's right turn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wait. That's a good idea.
Listen to this ASMR. Ready?
Listen to this.
Yeah, there we go.
Listen to this ASMR.
Oh, yeah, I want to try that too. I can't hear it. Can you hear it?
I heard it. Yeah, it was pretty.
Shoot.
It was pretty defined. Okay, well.
My microphone's like not existent with my sweatshirt.
No, it's not. That's okay. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the little ASMR-ness that we provide. But anyways, let's get into it. Welcome back to the CreativeKrunch podcast. We took a little bit of a break. We did some traveling. We went to Utah. We had a CreativeKrunch shoot for a high school choir out in eastern Iowa. And we've just kind of been catching up on things and editing, and we decided to take a little bit of a break. But we are back. We are better than ever. And we are pumped to be here and to talk to whoever listens. So I'm Reed, and Ben, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Ben, as Reed already said.
He's Ben.
Yep.
We are the hosts.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So today is going to be maybe a quicker episode. Maybe not. We say that sometimes and then it just goes long. But today we are going to put all of our focus on Ben and let Ben kind of tell his story, living life with ADHD, going into his professional life, his personal life. And yeah, so let's just get right into it. Ben, go ahead. And,
all right. ADHD. If you guys don't have it, you should get it. It's definitely a must.
Oh, boy.
No, ADHD, it's fun, but it's not fun. So ADHD, it stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. It is a mental disorder. I was diagnosed with it when I think it was like 11. Yeah, because I was in 5th grade, I think, when I first got diagnosed with it. And I think what the rule of thumb is you say that grade number, and then it's like +6 is how old you were. So 5th grade, so +6, so I was 11.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, so if you're ever trying to figure out how old you were, so like in middle school, so you're going into 6th grade, you were 12 at 6th grade, and then you were 14. If you remember, there's always those kids that were like pretty much eligible to like drive to school when they were in middle school, like 14, if they got like a school's permit.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you got a school's permit, who followed that? Like, I'm going to stay this route if I'm only driving to school.
Yeah, I don't know. I never got a school permit. I got my permit when I was 14, but I didn't get my first car until I was 16, so I never needed one.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, off topic.
Yeah, so ADHD, yeah. So I was diagnosed when I was in 5th grade. My teachers thought I could maybe, I should talk to a doctor, and they prescribed me with some medicine. I think it was Adderall at the time. And then after I was on medicine, the teacher said that I was acting, my personality had changed too much. I was acting too robotic. I was too hyped about doing 5th grade homework. But because I was a very social student, always trying to talk to people and hang out with people, and just have fun. And then when I went on Adderall, I didn't socialize quite as often. I was very, I don't even know, focused, I guess. But yeah, so after the teacher said that, then I went off of it for a long time. And then junior year of high school, I had another teacher talk to me and say, hey, have you ever considered taking, or she asked if I had ADHD, or she told me to like talk to somebody about having ADHD. So I went and talked to a psychiatrist. And then I took some tests and got prescribed with Adderall. And then my GPA like skyrocketed. Because beforehand I didn't really care so much about my grades. I cared more about just getting by and living life, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just didn't care so much about like the learning aspect of school. But then as soon as I started taking Adderall, I kind of was able to focus more on long-term goals and the value of education. Mm-hmm. And so my GPA went way up, and I remember beforehand I was going to try to go to a university, University of Northern Iowa, and I knew beforehand like there was no chance I was going to get in. But then after increasing my GPA, then I was able to apply for University of Northern Iowa and get in, which was kind of cool.
Go Panthers.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so I've been on the same prescription of Adderall ever since I was a junior in high school, which was, now I can't do that 6 thing. Junior is 11. So
16, 17.
17. So, yes, like 10 or 11 years I've been on the same prescription of Adderall. As for attention deficit disorder, there's 3 different types. It used to be just ADD or ADHD. Like you had like they used to think it was either you had the hyperactive or you didn't have the hyperactive. But now they're saying like it's all under ADHD. Like whether you're one of the 3 types, it's ADHD regardless. But the 3 types are the inattentive, the hyperactive, and then there's combined. So inattentive is having a hard time paying close attention. You make like careless mistakes. You have trouble focusing and distracted while listening. And then there's the hyperactive, which is just a lot of like fidgeting, pacing around, stuff like that. And then the third one is combined, which is both. And I don't think I've ever been told which one I have, but I guarantee you I have combined because I have a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. When we talked about this in the past, I've told you that the best way to describe it is the feeling you get when you're hungry, but like nothing sounds good. Like you go to the fridge and you open it, you're so hungry for something, you open the fridge and nothing inside your fridge looks appetizing. You try to figure out what you want to order to eat, but like nothing sounds good. That's like the feeling when I'm not on Adderall. Mm-hmm. And Adderall isn't the only medication that people with ADHD can take. There's also another common one is Ritalin or Concerta. But I think Adderall is the more commonly prescribed medication. I don't think there's been as many studies on Ritalin or Concerta. But regardless, there really hasn't been long-term studies on these medications, so they're not really sure what the long-term effects are going to be of people that are on these medications for, I mean, like me, I've been on them for 10, 11 years. Who knows? Maybe I'll die of stroke or something.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too. Like the 20-year mark is the cutoff or something.
How long has, I'm guessing in the past, like ADHD and ADD wasn't like looked at as like, it's like, oh, he's just a kid, he's just hyper or whatever. He can't focus because he's so hyper and so much energy. When, like, how long ago was it when they're like, oh, this is actually like a mental health type of thing, and then they like, you know, started to get into medication and stuff? If you know, that's kind of a loaded question.
I don't know 100% sure, but I think it was somewhere in the 80s. You know what? Let's just Google it right now.
We've got the technology to find out.
When was ADHD discovered? It was like a discovery. Like someone was like, oh my gosh, you discovered a new...
I found this.
Oh wait, 1902. Okay, it's been around for 100 years. Over 100 years, 120 years.
Look up like when medication, because that's what you were talking about, is like there's no long-term studies on the medication, so it obviously can't be that old.
1950s. So 70 years.
That's weird. I mean,
it was used to treat conditions of fatigue and depression because ADHD medication are stimulants. Mm-hmm. Okay, a little bit about ADHD. So ADHD, people that have ADHD are said to have lower levels of dopamine receptors in their brain. And those are the receptors that, it's like your reward system. So like when you complete a task, you have a bunch of dopamine that goes to those receptors, and so you feel good about completing it, or you feel good about it while you're doing it. But people with ADHD don't have all those receptors going, or they don't have like as many receptors, so they don't get that reward. And so I think ADHD, it either increases the dopamine or it increases the receptors, I think. I think it's the dopamine, though, because I don't know if you can just create receptors. It's something that pretty much supplements what people with ADHD don't have. And then there's two, I don't know much about this one either, but there's this thing called default mode, I think, and then like active processing mode or something. And like your brain is supposed to automatically be able to switch between the two when you're supposed to focus on something. But people with ADHD, rather than it switching, one of them just stays on default mode, and then the active processing mode comes on with it. So it's like while they're both going, your brain is like trying to like be like, oh, we can just chill. No, you got to be focusing. Oh, no, just chill. Like you're good, and you got to keep focusing. So it's like a mix. So it's like a constant like battle trying to stay focused.
Yeah. So how? Sorry, I can't figure out my ISO here. So how does ADHD affect your personal life and then also your professional life?
ADHD, for me, I mean, personally, I have a really hard time planning things. So, if people ask me questions like, hey, where do you want to do or where do you want to eat? For me, I over time I've learned like I just need to like choose like the easiest option. So like if I think so like when we're choosing dinner, I'm so indecisive. I don't know if that's because of my Enneagram type. Like I'm a type 9. I don't know if it's because of that or if it's because of my ADHD, but like it's too overwhelming to be like there's just all these options. So I just like go with the quickest option, because if I look, then I just get too distracted, and like if we're ordering food, I'll have like Lauren order food, and then she'll just like pick something for me, or I'll just like pick like one of the first things on the front of the menu, or like when we go to a restaurant, I'll just ask the waitress, hey, what's your most popular dish? And then I'll order that.
So like with decision making, then does that cause you like stress and make you overwhelmed because of the ADHD, or is it just like you just literally can't decide? Like, is it a stressful thing for you, or is it just like probably more of a frustrating type deal?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think if I just have too many options in front of me, it's like if I'm planning a trip, like when we were planning the Utah trip, when we were looking at the hikes, I was like, holy cow, there's so many options. Like, what do we even do? Or car rental. I just went with the quickest option until we got Fox car rental.
Yeah, that's another story. Quick recap. So Ben and I actually, Ben, me, Lauren, Cassidy, we went to Utah, and the girls kept asking like, hey, let's get this thing planned. So one day Ben and I just sat down, like made this itinerary. We booked the hotels, the Airbnb, the cars, and whatever. Which they had been sending us stuff. So like we didn't do it from scratch. We had some help, just to clarify to Lauren and Cassidy. Thank you guys. But when we booked the car, Ben did it through Expedia, and it doesn't have like any ratings about the car rental place or whatever. And then when we landed in Denver, Ben was just making sure like we're good to pick up our car, and then he noticed that the place
I was looking for the number. I was looking for the phone number to just call them, and then I saw right underneath it, it's like 2-star, and I was like, okay, but how many reviews? And it was like 2,500 reviews, and then we started reading them.
Yeah, I had an average of like 2-star reviews, and then 2,500 different reviews, and not very many of them were very good. But you know what? It worked out. We got the car. The night we landed at like 1 a.m. I would say it's like a 3.5 star car rental place.
Yeah, I think my rating definitely sits above everyone else's on there.
Yeah. So Fox Car Rental, if you want to give us a sponsor, we will up that 3-star to a 4-star.
Yeah, we'll give you a sponsor on the podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, it was just interesting because we landed in Denver, and it was just, we're like, well, are we even gonna get a car now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get back on.
But yeah, the reason we did Fox Car Rental is because, I mean, when I was looking at options, I just was like, I'm just going to look for the cheapest option rather than like doing much research. I was like, there's just so much. I just literally was like, that looks like a good option. So I just went with that without doing much research.
I mean, that makes sense. But, okay, also Expedia, come on. Like, why don't you have like ratings on your app? Like, he's like, here's a car from this random place. Go right ahead. I guess we should have done more research, but that's a bone to pick another day.
Definitely gonna remember that.
Yeah. So back to decision making, and I think the last thing I asked is like if it's stressful or overwhelming or a bit of both.
Yeah, it's definitely just having more options is kind of hard, and that's how it kind of ties in with, like, if I have a to-do list, like if I have more than like 3 things to do, then it starts to get overwhelming, and I feel like I never get anything done because I keep constantly thinking about all the things on that list. So if so today I saw the dishes needed to be done. So today, I had like 4. But technically I had 3. The meeting with the bride today, I knew I wanted to do this, record this podcast, and then work on a highlight, and trying not to think of anything else to add to that list, because if I start to add other stuff to that list, it'll get overwhelming. But I saw dishes, and I knew if dishes were there, I was not going to be able to focus on any of the other things, so I put that at the front of my list, because I was like, if I see that, game over. So yeah, definitely trying not to throw too much on my list at a time, because it can mess with me.
So I know you were sort of kind of getting into it, like with to-do lists and stuff. how does ADHD affect your professional life? So your business, graphic formation, films, do either like what do you struggle with, or what things have you found that make it easier, make it better? Like obviously the medication that you're on, but is there anything for, if anyone's listening that also struggles with ADHD and is a business owner or is in the professional world?
So one thing about ADHD is, you have these, you become hyper focused on things that just are really rewarding to you. So like, I remember at some of my old jobs, I would get so focused on stuff that was not even related to the job that people would either get frustrated with me or be like, you need to get this done. But I feel like I have an advantage of doing something that I'm passionate about, because I feel like for the most part, my reward system is constantly being pulled towards this, like my job as a wedding videographer. And so my focus for the most part stays focused on that. And I'm not like trying to find like I'm trying to describe this so it makes sense. So like I feel like my reward system is constantly being supplied with dopamine. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if I'm doing something else, I might get bored a lot easier. So I feel like I have an advantage doing something I love. So people with ADHD that maybe listen to this, definitely, if you feel like you struggle a lot at work, or you just, I don't know, I just push you to do something that you love doing. So say you have a side hobby, like I know one of my couples, so he has another job that, I can't remember if he said he liked it or not, but he enjoys woodworking, and I was just telling him that like I think if he really enjoys doing that, he should push to do that more, to eventually be able to go full time. Because for me, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, filming weddings and stuff like that.
And I mean, to be a little more logistical on that too, like he's not saying if you love something that's not your job, don't just up and quit.
Yeah.
Kind of make a little bit of a plan, I guess. But yeah, I just want to clarify that, just because, you need if you're going to go and do something full time, you got to have a little bit of a savings built up. You got to have, a business plan. You got to make sure that you're going to have income, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just clarifying that. Just don't jump ship and like dive headfirst into something without a plan. But yeah, definitely for anyone watching, is that what I just said?
Yeah, I'm watching.
For anyone watching, if you do, like Ben said, if you do have something that really makes you happy or passionate, like a passion thing that's kind of a side hustle thing, yeah, definitely start putting more time into it and see where it takes you, because you honestly have no clue. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. What did I say last? Yeah, so I'm feeling passionate about what I'm doing is definitely an advantage. I feel like, because I feel like I'm constantly trying to continue doing it. Where like sometimes I can get hyper focused. Beforehand, I used to get hyper focused on certain things, like, oh, let me just really quickly make this thing, this project. And then I'd completely stop what I was doing beforehand on one thing and go do another project. For me, though, the thing that is kind of tough, so sneak peeks are really fun to work on because I can get so hyper-focused on them where I can get them done in a day. Highlights, though, are a little more difficult for me, but I think the difficult part of it, though, is getting into it. Like, for me, once I start working on a highlight and really get into it after like 30 minutes, then I can really stay focused on it for like good chunk of time. But it's getting into that first 30 minutes that is pretty tough for me. Because it takes time to. It's hard because with ADHD you can get bored really easily and lose motivation for something. But yeah, I think I've learned over time that I need a good chunk of time to work on something, and that like all I really need to do is push myself for like 30 minutes, and then I can really get going. And I think a lot of people refer to it as like hyperfixation. You get fixated on something, and I kind of use that to my advantage. Like, I just got to get into that fixation mode. But for me to be able to do that, I need to remove as many distractions. So like for me this morning, I needed to get those dishes removed because I knew I wanted to sit on the island in the kitchen to work. But I knew if I saw those dishes, I was not going to be able to focus on the other tasks that I needed to do. What was we talking about how it affects?
Yeah, just like, because most of our listeners are, they know graphic formation, they know Reed Shepherd film. So I was just trying to dive a little bit deeper into, ADHD and being a business owner. Like what struggles have you found? What have you found that's good to do and like helps you? I know you were talking a little bit about editing, but maybe let's jump into a wedding day. So you're filming a wedding on the day. What obstacles have you run into, or what things have you found that are super helpful? Yeah.
So I bring my medication with me to a wedding, and the medication will last about roughly 8 hours. So I try to kind of plan it out so that I will stay focused through like 2/3 of the day. I'll stay. When I come to weddings, I'm really excited. So like really excited about the wedding. I don't just come to it feeling like it's a job. It is a job. Like people have hired me to come, but for me, I really enjoy it. But the medication, what it does is it narrows my field of view so that I'm not, because like sometimes there's been weddings where like I'll forget to take it until like right before the ceremony, and it takes roughly an hour to kick in, and I'll be like trying to set up tripods, but then I'll set up a tripod and I'll be like, oh, let me go get a detail shot. So I'll stop setting up tripods to go get a detail shot. Then I'll be like, oh, I need to go get audio set up, and like I'd never get any 3 of them done. Or I get them done, but it takes me way longer than if I were to just let me just get these tripods set up then. And I think Lauren can tell when I start to get that way at weddings, because I will start to get like frustrated with myself. And so having her there to like talk me down a little bit, or just maybe lighten the load a little bit, whether that's like talking to the bride or groom for me, or talking to the officiant. That can be nice. But yeah, so what I do is I try to take my medication so it kicks in usually around the time where like the first look and stuff is happening. But I try to actually like not have my medication on in the morning, because I feel I use it to my advantage. So people that have ADHD tend to be a little more creative, and they're better risk takers, and can think outside the box. So like when I'm doing drone shots, I get a little testy with my drone.
Yeah, tell the story. What Emma and Garrett's wedding, when we went to Ashen Hill at like 6 a.m. and you were getting real risky with that expensive piece of equipment.
We'll post it on
We'll
post it on CreativeKrunch. Reed made a Instagram reel, and that is showing my ADHD to the max. So when I fly the drone, I try to get as creative as possible, and so sometimes I'll fly, like at Emma and Garrett's at Ashton Hill. I was trying to fly through these tree branches, and it was like a 2-foot gap, and I just biffed it hard. And after we got done, we did get it though. We got it.
We did, yeah. So we'll post two. We'll post the reel, and then we'll post the clip of the successful drone
Take
run.
2, yeah.
Yeah, but so what Ben was saying, there's like this little gap between these 2 branches, and he really wanted to fly through. It was really cool. But he really wanted to fly that drone right through there just so perfectly, and then it reveals the venue and everything. And for some, I knew it was a risky shot, so I pulled out my phone and I started filming him because I'm like, I want this recorded just because anything could happen. He ends up crashing it, and as it's on the way down, he thinks it's like, oh, I better stop recording. He's like, oh, I don't want to see the rest of this. But anyways,
like that's gonna help the fall or something.
Yeah. And then we go, and then I'm the one that finds it, and then in the background you hear Ben, all right, let's try that shot one more time. But he got it, and it actually turned out really cool, and I think it made it into their video. So
yeah, so the way that my ADHD was working in that moment, I was just thinking, whoa, this is gonna be awesome. I gotta get this sick shot. It's gonna be so cinematic, so unique. And in my head, it never even crossed my mind that I was potentially losing $1,500 right there. And so that's my ADHD brain kind of like risk taking, being a little more creative. So, and not saying that like when I take my medications, creativity is just canceled. No, I what it does is it focuses me more, so I can focus on more what's right in front of me. So like I kind of will get those creative juices flowing in the morning, and then I use the ADHD to kind of keep that creativity flowing through the day with a more focused approach rather than like a chaotic, like, whoa, let's get this sick shot and then forget to get the first look. So yeah, that's how I kind of use ADHD to my advantage. Now I feel like I can't necessarily do that when I'm at home. I can't just like, oh, let's get this sick creative edit without taking my Adderall. Sometimes though, I will say some of my best reels come when I don't take my medicine, like my ideas. But that can also be like a distraction. I can get that idea, I need to do that reel, and I'm like, I can't do anything but make that reel because it's like on my mind.
And I know we talked a little bit about it in like a past podcast about working from home too. One, like, yeah, for you, it's probably super advanced with distractions. Like we had talked about the dishes thing before too. And like, that's something I don't really struggle with, but yeah, all the distractions that you have, like being at home, whether that's TV or video games or whatever. Yeah, I can't even imagine that from like a perspective if you didn't take your medication that day. And like, when you're home, there's always 1,010,000 different things that need to be done. So yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
really
I can't
know
tell you the amount of times that I'll be like in the evening, I'll like be like, I'm gonna go downstairs to get some water, and like on my way down, I'll like see that the cats need food, so I like will put my water bottle down and I'll feed the cats. Then I'll go back upstairs and I'll be like, wait, where's my water? And I'm like, shoot, and then I'll go downstairs and I'll see I left like the living room on, so I'll go and turn the living room off. Then I'll go back upstairs and be like, I didn't get water. And then I go back and go get water. And I'll like grab my water bottle and I'll put it in the sink thinking that's why I came down there. Like it's a dirty dish. And then I'll go back upstairs, realize for the fourth time I forgot water. So I probably get the amount of time Lauren goes up and down the stairs. I know I'm at home, so I go up more, but I probably go up and down those stairs 30 more times a day than Lauren does because I just simply forget stuff.
Yeah. So do you take your medication every day?
Every day. And I know some people don't do that. Like some people will not take them on the weekends. But for me, it's more of a, when I don't take them, I just constantly am pacing around and like feeling, I don't know. Bored kind of. It's kind of like bored, but I just feel like I'm just like, there's something. It's just like an agitating feeling. Like, I'll like sit down and I'll be like, no, I think I'll like scoot closer to the TV. I'll like walk around. I'll go upstairs and start cleaning, but then I'll only get like 2 minutes into cleaning, and then I'll be like, oh, look, there's a tape measure. Let me go measure the doorway. That looks like something I could do something with.
Hey, you never know when you'll need the measurement of the door.
No, but
so I was just gonna say, like with you saying, like not everyone takes their medication every day or doesn't need to take it every day. So I'm guessing there's different like levels to it. You know, there's probably very mild cases of ADHD, and there's probably very like extreme cases too. Do you think you probably fall on like the higher end of that, or what?
yeah, I guess I could say I fall on the higher end, but I've learned how to sort of manage it. Like, I know if I don't take my meds, I'm not just like, well, tough luck, not getting any work done today. Mm-hmm. Like, I kind of learn how to sort of push myself. It can, when I don't take it though, there can be like, I will just like, sometimes I can just get overwhelmed and just kind of lay there and just like there's just way too much stuff to do.
Yeah.
So like with ADHD, some people can get, I've never been diagnosed with it, but I can get anxiety sometimes. There's also depression is a big one. A lot of people with ADHD can have depression. I don't feel like I have depression. I feel like I'm a pretty happy person all around. But I know there's a lot of people that I think can get depression because of just having too much stuff going on in their head. Mm-hmm. But like to the point where like you feel like you can't get out of bed because there's just too much to do, and I feel like there's definitely, I've had days where I like lay in bed and I'm like, all I can think about was, why am I still laying in bed when I could be doing stuff? Mm-hmm.
So if anyone's watching that has ADHD or maybe even like some other mental health stuff going on, anxiety, depression, whatever, but obviously mainly ADHD, and say they're struggling, what's something you would tell them to, help them push through it, or to try something new? Do you have any tips or suggestions?
Kind of like the Dave Ramsey's snowball thing. Get the tasks done that are like right in front. His is do the smallest debts first, I think.
Yeah.
I just do the tasks. Like for me this morning, it was dishes. I just moved that to the front of the list, and I was like, whatever. Like I had this video chat at 10, and I messaged her, and I said, hey, it's just going to be a couple minutes after 10. Like, I just got to finish these dishes.
Did you
because
tell
I
her
knew
that?
Yeah, I just told her. I was like, hey, just a heads up. It was like 10:03 or something when I called her, but I said, hey, I'm just finishing up these dishes, because I knew if I had called her in the middle of those dishes, I'd never get those dishes done, and I'd never get anything else done. Mm-hmm. So do the small tasks and just get them done, because as soon as you get one done, you'll feel like you'll get that reward kind of. So you'll be like, okay, let's go get this next thing done. And
motivating almost.
Yeah. And it'll just lighten your plate, make it so you're not so distracted.
Pun intended or no pun intended?
What did I say?
You were talking about dishes, and then you said it'll lighten your plate.
Oh, shoot.
So I'm guessing no pun intended.
Oh, no pun intended. But shoot, that would have been perfect. And then also just like keeping in mind, so like for me, I turn on do not disturb a lot when I'm really starting to try to, like editing, like I cannot. So when I start editing, it can be pretty frustrating to stop editing because I'm so focused on editing. I'm like, yes, I'm finally focused. And so just getting to that 30-minute mark where you're hyper focused on it, just push yourself, turn off as many distractions, do not disturb. That can help. But try even if that means setting a timer and just being okay, I'm just not going to do anything until that timer goes off. By the time you get to that 30 minutes, you should hopefully be focused so that when the timer goes off, you can just turn it off and just continue editing. I don't do that personally, but I've heard of people doing that. Another thing too is sometimes I like to listen to instrumental music when I'm working. Not necessarily editing, but while I'm doing either dishes or
emails,
anything that requires focus or emails. Because if I'm listening to lyrics, I'll start my mind will start running. But if I'm listening to instrumental music, then it kind of allows my brain to just be free of thought. I'm not just mindlessly typing but
yeah, we talked a little bit about that in the episode of productivity.
Yeah, it's a product.
We're not, no.
It's an activity a product that's an activity.
Activities that have products. No, but we talked a little bit about that and how music and how it helps you get into that state of flow that you were talking about. It's cool how that can relate, relates to this topic as well. But yeah, do you have anything else for the people listening, or should we wrap it up here and talk about inspirations?
Oh shoot! Oh no! Okay,
I'm gonna start texting you 2 hours before we do the podcast and be like, hey, think about what inspires you.
So what I would say, ADHD is not only a kid disorder. I know that. So I think in total with kids, it's I don't know, 5% of kids have ADHD or something, or 10% of kids, and then about half of those kids kind of grow out of it. Mm-hmm. But the other half will continue that into adult. There's people that have been diagnosed with ADHD at 40 years old. So don't necessarily feel oh, I'm already 35, so I shouldn't talk to my doctor. Definitely go talk to your doctor. Whether that's you feel you're having a hard time focusing, or you're very forgetful, or having a hard time planning ahead. I don't know. Do some research, but definitely talk to your doctor. I know there's tests you can take that your doctor will give you to determine. But yeah, it could. For me, I felt it was life-changing taking Adderall. It did take a little bit to kind of get used. It took a couple months for me to finally really get used to the medication, where I felt it wasn't changing my personality. But it definitely helps me get through each day without all the chaos that goes on inside of someone with ADHD.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely go talk to your doctor.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to end the conversation.
Cool. You go first, so I can think a little bit.
Yeah, so if anyone's new and is listening and made it this far, we do a thing at the end of each podcast where we talk about something that recently has inspired us. It can literally be anything. If you watch the previous episodes, you know that, because Ben's answers are all over the board, from buying a new rug to his neighbor's sidewalk to lights. No, what was the other one? Yeah, the light bulb. But yeah, they can literally be anything. So today, I'll start. this was last week. I finished up my last project from 2020, and so I've got a clear plate for the most part. I've got a little CreativeKrunch stuff and some emails and prepping for this wedding season. But yeah, so now I'm just kind of relaxing and getting ready for busy season. But it's just inspiring. It's like, yes, you're gonna get through everything. You're gonna get everything done. Like, you love doing this, and it's pumping me up for this next year. So yeah, that would be my inspiration.
Shoot, I feel like I'm not ready. Okay, I guess I got one. So, if you haven't, Justice League came out like back in 2018 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2019. Yeah, like the Justice League came out, but the whole thing went down with Zack Snyder was the original director, and then his daughter ended up committing suicide, and so he needed like a break from it. But Warner Brothers was like, "Yo, we got to get this video out like now, like when we said we were gonna get it out." So they ended up hiring a Marvel director. So Marvel not Marvel, but a director who'd worked for Marvel came and finished the film, and it's not how Zack Snyder would have originally done it. So Zack Snyder was like, "Hey, can I get all the footage or whatever?" And he ended up taking it all, and he made this like 4-hour movie out of it with a ton of like new footage, and like the story was so much deeper than like the original one. And there was even this scene. I'm gonna ruin it for everybody that's listening. There was this scene.
Spoiler alert.
The scene that was so cool so in Justice League, the original movie, you see. Did you see it? Justice League?
I am not a big DC fan.
You did not see Justice League. Okay, you should go watch the original. But anyway, at the very end of the original Justice League, there's these 3 boxes that are merging, so that once it merges, then like all life ceases to exist. And Cyborg and Superman are able to prevent the boxes from merging. They like separate it. But in Zack Snyder's Justice League, the box actually merges, and all of a sudden like there's this huge explosion, and it starts just destroying all life that exists. And Flash sees this explosion happening, and in that moment he's like, oh, like I gotta, like if I'm gonna run faster than anything, it needs to be faster than the speed of light right now. So he starts running. He runs faster than the speed of light and reverses time, and brings it back to the original time, and Superman and them are able to separate the boxes. But the fact that like Zack Snyder was able to like completely change the story and make it like a 4-hour film, you'll definitely tell like the aspect ratio is like, it's like an old television aspect ratio. Like they didn't crop it to 9:16 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like the story is so much deeper, and you actually get to see Darkseid, where you didn't see that in the original Justice League.
Yeah, you should send me a YouTube clip to that, or a YouTube link to that clip or that scene.
It was really cool, and I know there's like just way more character development in the movie, and I was like, and at the very end, it was me and Lauren looked at each other. It was so sad, but so like cool. At the very end of the credits, it just said for Autumn, and it was like for his daughter. Like Zack Snyder made the movie for his daughter
in honor of her.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool that like Zack Snyder said, you know what, I'm gonna complete this. So I thought that was pretty inspiring. That
that is.
He ended up doing originally what he wanted.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't know why. I love the Batman movies, like The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Returns, like. And the Joker, the new Joker, those are some of my favorite movies. But like for some reason, the rest of DC film, like I don't think they're like, I wouldn't say they're bad. I just like don't have the motivation or like the desire to sit down and watch them. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because I'm a big Marvel fan or what.
I will warn you.
Yeah. Oh, you're frozen there. How long have you been frozen?
I will warn you.
Oh, no.
You're frozen too. You look like... I can see you now. Can you see me?
Yeah, okay, yeah. That was on my end, I guess. It just popped up with it. Your internet is unstable.
Well,
Well, I mean,
I will warn you that the movie is very... It's like... I mean, DC is a darker... I mean, it's like Gotham and like...
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well,
very dark. So there's these scenes that sometimes you're like, okay, that's enough slow motion cinematicness, like shots of like Aquaman just slowly walking out like with his shirt off and the waves are crashing and it's like 3 minutes of him doing this and you're like, all right, get out there already. Like, what are we waiting for? Or like Wonder Woman, like cinematically, like jumping and like landing and it's like a slow pushing and you're like, all right, like, what are we doing? Like, okay, yeah, we see her. But if you stick through those moments, you'll be like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. I don't know. I thought the character development was way more in depth for this. Like, with like a superhero movie, like these ones, it's hard to fit everything. Like, even Avengers Endgame, I felt like there's a ton of, like, really fat, like, there wasn't a ton of character development. Well, I mean, there was because of the separate movies, but with Justice League, they didn't, like, Cyborg and The Flash, they didn't really have any character development because they don't have movies yet. Mm-hmm. But they did with this, I felt like they did with this Justice League. So, yeah, I definitely, recommend trying to watch it. It might be a little hard, but, I love Marvel, too.
I want to. I want to have the motivation and desire to watch some of this. I don't know why I don't. I really don't. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know. Since from someone, oh my gosh. Remember when we said it was going to be a short podcast? We're pushing an hour already.
Oh, no.
Okay, but quickly, from someone that likes DC movies and Marvel movies, is there a noticeable difference to you? I feel like there's just something about DC that's not as compelling to me.
It's a little too dark. Like, they don't have enough humor in there. Like, they don't have enough relatable stuff. And I feel like Marvel puts a lot more real-world scenarios in their movies, whereas, like, if you watch Zack Snyder's, you're like, all right, that does not look like a city that would be existing in this world. Yeah. Like, you're like, okay, New York City does not look that good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is what I really enjoy about Marvel movies. Like, I think Deadpool is my favorite. Deadpool 1 and 2 are probably all of the Avengers are really good, but just the directing and writing for Deadpool is just, I love it. I love it so much, like how he breaks the fourth wall. And you know what? That's enough geeking out. We should end it.
Yeah, we should end it. Go watch all the Marvel and DC movies and then come back to us next week.
I don't think I'd be done by then. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, don't watch.
Don't. Okay, well, thanks for listening and watching and hanging out with us.
All right, until next time, we'll talk what?
Yeah,
anxiety next week?
Yeah, so we kind of had a 2-part idea for Ben to talk about his story with ADHD, and then next week or whenever we get to it, we'll chat about my story a little bit with anxiety and mental health stuff. So yeah, that will be next. And then I think we have a guest, a musician. I think a musician that does it full time, maybe.
That'd be cool.
Who's interested on coming on. So that will be in the near future as well. But yeah. All right. Well, 3, 2, 1,
end.
This is the CreativeKrunch podcast.
Yesterday's left turn might be tomorrow's right turn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wait. That's a good idea.